Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Jim Jonas. Today, our guest is going to be Peter Pavone. He's a candidate for Nevada's Lieutenant Governor. But before we get to Mr. Pavone, Jim, you have anything?
Actually, I kind of do. So, it's not really a rant. I just think...
Public service announcement?
Yeah, it's one of those things
I got one, just to let you know. I just thought of one.
Okay, well, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Okay.
No, I'll go.
Okay.
No, you go right ahead. You go right ahead.
No, I just, I think it's interesting that this election cycle, we have so many candidates on the Republican side. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, so it goes in waves. So people that hear in the news that like, okay, the Republican president is unpopular, so it's going to be a Democrat cycle. Now all of a sudden on the Democrat side, tons of candidates run, right? Mm-hmm. And then now this year, Biden is unpopular because, you know, we're paying like, what, $17.50 a gallon for gas?
You said $17.50?
Oh, we'll get there.
Well, that would be a riot at $17.50.
I'm exaggerating, but I mean, it's went up 172% since he took office, just saying. So, while I really appreciate people that are passionate about running for office, and I have a lot of respect for them because it is a very difficult task. Mm-hmm. I just find it interesting that we go in these trends. So if the president is popular, that party doesn't run as many people. But then if the other party's president is unpopular, now the opposite party, you got all these other people running. I think what needs to happen, if I were to give some advice, is that if you're that passionate about being a public servant and you think you can do really good by your community, state, country, then educate yourself, do your homework, do what you need to do to build a foundation, run for office, whether it's going to be popular or not. Mm-hmm. If you're that passionate about it. I just think that, like, on both sides, Democrat or Republican, we tend to have a lot of candidates that think, oh, well, you know, I'll just pay my $100, $200, $300, show a valid ID, which I go ahead and voter ID all day long. But I just think if you're that passionate about it, like, you should understand the office, know what you're running for, done some homework, understand what it's all about. So if you do get elected, you can actually do what you say you're going to do.
Mm. Instead of talking out their butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that probably makes our current guest uncomfortable.
Not me, baby.
But I didn't mean it. But I just want to make sure that Peter understands that I don't mean that.
No, that's
towards you specifically. I'm just saying in general, and I mean it by Veterans of Politics. We are nonpartisan, and I just believe that, like, we need to get back to, like, why are you actually running? Mm-hmm. Not because you're just any way the wind blows. Like, oh, this cycle is going to be a Republican cycle. I'm Republican. Okay, I'll file. This cycle is going to be a Democrat cycle. Okay, I'll file. That's not the way it's supposed to work. And that's one of the reasons why people don't get involved and they don't vote.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
We were at the elections department.
Yeah.
The county.
Yeah.
And I am so glad that this is probably the first election I can remember that every seat is being challenged.
Right.
At least every partisan seat's being challenged.
Yes.
And I'm glad that has happened.
Yep.
But on the judicial side, there are 3 seats that wasn't challenged.
Yep.
And I'd like to congratulate Judge Amy Cellini on another win.
Yep.
And I'd like to congratulate Judge Harmony Letizia on another win. And I'd like to congratulate Judge Melissa Zaragoza on another win. 3 outstanding judges, and I guess they deserve to run unopposed, so there you have it. At the same time, I want to say this. The Nevada Secretary of State website last week didn't have any of the candidates listed, okay? And they didn't have any of the candidate information. But they have squared themselves away since the conversation I had with them, with the deputy elections guy, Mark Willen something, I forget his name. So now I'm on the North Las Vegas City's website, and they have the candidates listed, but they had no information on the candidates. So when I called up the city clerk's office, they said, hey, it's a confidentiality issue, which we all know that's bullshit. There is no confidentiality when you're running for public office. That's why it's called public, right? So with that, they also said that, hey, you know, we have a lot of seats. 5 seats they have.
Right.
Maybe 20 candidates tops.
Yeah.
Tell the Clark County Elections Department about that when they have, what, 365?
Yeah.
Really? You know, city clerk, if you don't know the job, resign, okay? And if you don't know election law, resign, because you shouldn't be there. What's her name? Jackie Rogers or something like that. Really? I had to call up the city manager and the mayor to square it away. I mean, this person should have had a briefing because we all knew elections are coming up, right? It happens every year. Yeah. So somebody should have schooled the city clerk before she took the job. That's all I'm saying. They promised me it was supposed to be up today before 5. I haven't checked North Las Vegas, but I will. But that's what I have to say about that. All right, my public announcement. It's a good public announcement.
Well, Peter, you sure you still want to go through with this interview, or?
I wouldn't have it any other way, man.
Peter Pavone.
Thank you.
Pavone. Where's that from?
My father's Sicilian. My mother's Irish.
Okay.
So I have a little internal struggle going on.
I feel like having a chicken Alfredo right about now.
Hey, yeah, good stuff.
So, Mr. Pavone,
yes.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, you know, I'm living in Vegas 10 years. I was in San Diego 40 years, and then I was up to 19 years in Connecticut before I went to college.
Okay. What was your major?
Southern business, and minored in music.
Ah.
Yeah.
What instrument you played, or did you sing?
Well, I played a lot of instruments over my life, but I moved to Vegas in 2011 to play Frank Sinatra in the Rat Pack show. Yeah. And I became, apparently, I had a talent for impersonating, so I developed over the last 10 years Dean Martin, Abraham Lincoln, which I do the Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I can see the Abraham Lincoln, and you put a little beard on, a little top hat on, you're good to go.
I became the spokesman of Abraham Lincoln University, and I did car commercials for Team Ford Lincoln, and I actually went to Trump's swearing in as Lincoln, and the place went nuts. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I had a country show here in 2018 called Vegas Gone Country at the Planet Hollywood. I produced that. And so prior to that, there's been 10 years in entertainment here. In San Diego, I started out in the 70s in hospitality, restaurants and hotel, food and beverage, that sort of thing, front lines, you know, working. And in the 80s, I got in the catering business and ended up as the top caterer in San Diego. I catered the Andy Williams golf tournaments every year. I was the official caterer for the America's Cup.
Wow.
You know, I was the guy in the 80s.
What was your asking price to do a catering?
As much as possible.
Yeah. You're the top guy in San Diego.
It was expensive. Let me tell you, my catering company, from the day I opened it till the day I got rid of it, made 30% net profit. Every single month.
Huge.
Yeah, it was huge. But Clinton came in '91, cut back the military. He cut back the military.
There's always a downside.
In San Diego, the military, you know, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
And so building industry went off, everything went off.
All you had to do is open up the border to Tijuana, and you got to have a lot more business right there.
Lower ticket price.
Lower ticket price.
Yeah. And then I bought the biggest limo company there, you know. I was in transportation, right?
Okay.
And then I did convention booking. You know, we used to take our catering clients, they'd come in and we'd handle all their conventions.
What was the favorite dish you made?
Well, I got to tell you, we had a...
You don't cook, right? You just...
Yeah, I cook now, but I had a chef working for me, and I full-time crew of 8 and part-time of 25.
Huh. It's pretty big.
Yeah, we were big. We did 7 figures a year. In fact, when Moet and Louis Vuitton brought the America's Cup to San Diego in '87, they called the mayor's office, the head of the Restaurant Association, and the editor of the Union Tribune and asked them who they should use for their official caterer.
They chose you.
They all said me. So I said, hey, I'm doing pretty good. About time to get out of the business, you know.
Why? It was going uphill.
I'm just kidding. It was we did great. Oh my God, I made so much money. And
what'd you leave then?
Well, in '91 they cut back the military.
Oh, you're talking about the military. Yeah.
I had a high-end catering company. I had a high-end limousine service, and those are the 2 things that go out the window. Right. So my business went off by about 60%. And I knew it was going to take 5 years to get it back.
Well, you know, a good thing you did, because now COVID would have just crippled you.
Well, yeah. Well, it's been a long time since '91. I got out of that, and then I went into investment banking and then business broker. I was a turnaround specialist for restaurants and hotels, and then I started selling them. So I was in the business brokerage. And then in 2003, I got into the mortgage business because everybody was making a fortune in the mortgage business. And then back into business brokering. And then in 11, I got here and got into the entertainment business. Okay. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because the lieutenant governor of Nevada needs to know 4 things. Okay. Tourism, hospitality, entertainment, and transportation. And I've had 50 years experience, either directly as a CEO, boots on the ground, or as a peripheral consultant broker, this and that and the other thing. I'm the only one. And so that's why I'm running. Because about October, I started praying really hard. I was not happy with where my life was going.
What's your religious background?
I just became born again.
Born again?
A month ago. Yeah, I go to Crossing Church, and it just happened, man. Because I used to pray when I was in trouble,
Yeah, that's
Dear
why
Lord,
everybody prays.
I'll never drink again. I say, if you get me out of this, I'll never have tequila,
I'll never have tequila.
Right? So, I just started praying every day in October, and I'm praying for a sign, and he was throwing billboards at me. I mean...
Billboards are expensive.
Dude, throwing them. Well, you ought to have one land on you. So I ended up coming back to my apartment in Vegas, and I got my real estate license, my business broker permit.
Here in Vegas?
Here in Vegas.
Okay.
And I went to the Sterling Club because Luke Perry, who's consulting with me on my campaign, gave me the personality award, Las Vegas Personality Award, but I wasn't here to receive it this year, so he was going to give it to me there. And we're sitting there, and he said, why don't you run for lieutenant governor? You got all the decades of experience.
Right.
And, I said, well, that sounds pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I realized it's a statewide position. Yeah. And I'm up against guys who are politicians who have millions of dollars to spend, so my campaign has to be grassroots, Facebook and text and blah, blah, blah. Right. But, I believe in miracles, and God is driving my life, and I ask for signs every day. Right. And, and that's a whole different ballgame. When you give your life to God, you got a strong ally. And so I'm a believer that the lightning can happen if I'm meant to be lieutenant governor. I'm working hard. I'm traveling, looking to raise money,
How much have you raised?
Not much.
How much is that?
$250 for my sister and brother-in-law, my brother and sister-in-law.
You run
I know. Statewide. Yeah, I need about $1 million.
About $1 million?
Yeah. That's okay. That's all right. It's a numbers game. Like if I get 100 people on Facebook, and they get 100 people on Facebook, and they get 100 people on Facebook, that's 1 million people.
The rule of 5.
So, right? So it can be done, and I can beat these politicians with these 7-figure bank accounts without any.
So
I just need allies. I need troops. I need troops.
All that
right?
money you had from your catering business, what'd you do with it?
Well, over the years, I mean, I have some money, but Lorraine Hunt made me promise I wouldn't spend any of my own money.
Lorraine Hunt, there's a blast from the past.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, she promised me I wouldn't not to spend, and plus I spent $200,000 doing the country show. So I mean, I've given to the state financially, and I always said, in business, when you have the talent, other people can put up the money. You know what I mean? And we're getting good traction.
Honestly, what do you think your chances are? If we were to vote today, what do you think your chances are?
I think if you put us all in a room and gave us 10 minutes and then had everybody vote.
If we were to vote today, Mr. Pavone, what do you think your chance, honestly, be honest with yourself. Don't just say, oh my God, yeah, everybody will vote for me. Be honest.
Well, a lot of people don't know who I am.
Exactly.
So, this is why I'm here, to get the word out. And so the term snowball's chance in hell has come up a couple times.
Oh, you've been talking to Dave Gibbs.
But that's not going to stop me. It's never stopped me. Right, yeah. It's never stopped me from going for what I believe in. Right. And I've always gone to win.
Right.
When I was in the 80s, I wanted to do the best I could do. I became the top caterer. I owned the top limo company. When I came to Vegas, I did the best that I could. I became the 2014 Tribute Artist of the Year. The last 2 years, they gave me the Las Vegas Personality Award. I got a lot of friends in Las Vegas, a lot of fans, a lot of people who believe in me. You know what I mean? So if I can harness that, and I can get people saying, I'm not a politician. I'm a patriot.
I hear that all the time, but now you are.
Yeah.
Now you're a politician, right?
Well, but I told them if I ever start acting like a politician, somebody slap me.
How does a politician act?
I don't know. What's that scene in Hunt for Red October? I'm a politician, so if I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops. I don't ever want to be that way.
So
I don't ever have to lie to people or, the truth is very important to me.
Right. So since we're all truthful here, Mr. Pavone,
sir,
how many counties are there in this state?
I have no idea.
Okay,
but I do know there's 3,100,000 people that live in the state. 2.2 million of them in the Vegas Valley.
Okay. I believe there were 17 counties.
Yeah.
So now you know.
Yeah. This is my second month as a politician, so I'm learning as quickly as I possibly can.
And it's still early.
So,
Well, I should have started a year ago, but I never stand on ceremony.
Mr. Pavone, I'm trying to keep you on track here.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
So, what are the counties you actually have campaigned in for this seat?
Well, we just registered on a week ago Monday, so I've just been on.
But let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
You know, people have been running for seats for 2 years.
A year,
yeah. So you just started out, and what's this month? March?
Yeah.
Primaries when? June? So you got April, May.
70 days.
You think you could hit the entire state within those 2 times and make a difference?
Well, let's just say in the last week, I've been in touch and joined different organizations in the Republican Party in Pahrump, in Reno, in Carson City, in Virginia City, in Nye, okay? And, I have appointments to go and speak with them. In Reno. I'm going. I'm supposed to go this Saturday to meet the candidates in Reno, or is it in Carson City? I think it's Reno. Okay. I'm just hit the ground running. But I think that when people go on Ballotopedia or they go on the SOS the websites and they click on my website and they see what I'm about, they see that I have the experience. I've been a CEO since '85. I know.
You're still
how to
CEO
run.
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
CEO of what?
My production company, Peter Pavone Productions. Well, we just did. We haven't done anything during COVID. I've just been riding horses and living the good life.
Yeah, I see the horse in the background. I got horses right next door to me too.
Really?
Yeah, where I live. In Centennial Hills.
Yeah, I'm looking for a place. I might want to have a horse here, but I'm not sure that she's going to like the weather. So,
So what do you know? What do you actually know about the Lieutenant Governor's office, Mr.
Well, the Lieutenant Governor presides over the Senate. He uses the same rules of order that the judges do. Parliamentary procedure.
Okay.
He's on the Transportation Committee. Okay. I mean, that's everything from the bullet train to the the tunnel system that Tesla fellas built and continuing to build, to the roads, to traffic, and then you've got the entertainment and tourism committee. Well, tourism, I used to work for Sheraton, Hilton. I spent the 10 years in the 70s working in hospitality, whether they were country clubs, restaurants, fine dining. I was in the kitchen, cooking, baking, assistant garde manger. I was out in the front being a waiter, a captain, dining room manager. Then I worked my way through college, business school. And so the tourism, in these 80s, I did the biggest events in the history of the city, including the biggest conventions and their off-site events.
Here in Nevada?
I worked for,
you said the biggest convention in the city.
In San Diego.
San Diego.
Which is 3.5 million.
Let me bring you to Nevada. What have you done here in our state?
Well, I got here in 10.
Because, I've been here 27 years. And Jim, how long you been here?
Oh, you're trying to age me? I've been here since '86.
Sure. I got here in
for long that is.
2011. I got cast as Frank Sinatra in Sandy Hackett's Rat Pack show at the Riviera. And then I went to the Rat Pack is back at the Rio. And I was the only Sinatra in 5,145 shows to get standing ovations. So I'm deeply talented. I have a wonderful voice. I have a wonderful stage technique. And so I formed my own production company. And I toured Australia.
Okay.
I did 2 residencies in Kyoto, Japan, and Italy. And then produce my own shows for touring, because that's where the money is. Everybody knows that's where you make money. And you don't make it on the Strip. And but 52% of the money.
Depends on what you do.
Yeah, so I worked there. Well, yeah, that's a whole other subject. But I did some work with MGM. I have the biggest agent, Steve Byer Productions, is my agent here for entertainment. And so, I've worked for all the hotels. I did 4th of July at the pool at Caesars. Pia Zadora is a good friend of mine. I used to go into Piero's all the time, sitting with her, Wayne Newton.
I love Piero's.
Yeah,
the one on Convention. And,
old school.
Paradise, right?
Old school.
Yeah.
And
you've been to the Golden Stairs next to Aher? That's another old school
good
spot.
Good steak. Good steak. Tableside service. Yeah. But the live entertainment tax from Vegas, from Nevada, provides over $1 billion to the general fund of Nevada.
Really?
Yeah. I'd like to see some of that come back in the form of scholarships, grants, to people to produce shows. Because in 2003, this casinos got out of paying the bills. And it fell on the shoulders primarily of the producers.
Right.
And so it's very expensive to stage a show in Vegas. You need $1 million or $2 million or $5 million.
Since part of your job description as lieutenant governor, if you were to be elected, is to bring business to the state, right?
Right.
So how do you expect to bring business to the state when our education system is ranking around 50?
It's actually 51 if you count the District of Columbia, which is nothing to be. And I don't even know. What's the District of Columbia? There's D.C. part of Columbia.
Right.
But,
how do you plan to educate our workforce here? So an entrepreneur or a CEO from New York or Connecticut would say, okay, I want to establish a business here in Nevada because their education is so great, and I know I'm going to have an incredible workforce there because they're all educated, but it's not that way here, right?
No, and that's because they don't make it a priority. In Nevada, they don't make education a priority. They don't care about the kids.
How would you do that?
Well, you've got to first get tourism up. We've obviously come through a terrible time with COVID.
Right.
The scenes from the Strip being closed, it was like a ghost town.
Yeah, I did a video from the Strip when it was closed down.
Right,
yeah.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
So we've got to get tourism back. We've got to do a global campaign of postcards going out on come to Vegas. We've got to do things.
Where are you going to find the money to do that?
Well, like I said, we've got 52% of the money that goes into the state of Nevada's fund comes from the Las Vegas Strip, those big casinos. They owe something back to those casinos, okay?
But don't they pay into the Las Vegas Visitors and Convention Authority anyway? Isn't that their job? I'm asking.
Some, but we're not doing enough, and we can do more. We have, they have a Tonight Show from Vegas, from LA. They have one from New York. Why don't we have from for Vegas? Vegas is a much more exciting backdrop.
I don't know, tell me, why don't they have it?
I don't know, because nobody's gone about getting it done, you know? And I would like to see that done. And but you know, talking about tourism is also about, like you say, we need to diversify the economy, because for so long it's been singular. If you didn't work for the casino or something that did work for the casino. North Vegas has done a very good job of attracting other businesses. If you drive up the 95 or the 15 now, I just drove up to Bryan Head this weekend. There's huge warehouses that have been built over the last few years, bringing in.
Are they occupied?
Yeah, I think you've got, you know, so.
Because they were supposed to bring Tesla to North Las Vegas.
Tesla?
Tesla, sorry. And I don't think I see that there.
Well, he's a busy guy, that Tesla. I don't know. I think they were they were a little unhappy because he was supposed to, I heard, build cars in northern Nevada, and now he's just building batteries. But, you know, at least he's building something. We have to have tax incentives so businesses can move here. We've got to have the Strip become a perk for people who live here.
But don't we already have tax incentives? I mean, we have no state income.
No, we'd have. That's good for the employees and the employers, you know, but we have to have more.
What else we need to give them?
Well, here's the deal with living in Vegas.
Maybe a good education. That would help.
That's such
Maybe we need to change the way we're thinking.
It's such a tragedy. Yeah. You're right.
So let me, and I'm glad Steve brought that up. Because when Steve asked you about education, and you said, okay, well, actually, if you include the District of Columbia, we're actually 51st, and your first response was increased tourism, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, so this is my perspective, and this is a lot of people's perspective. So answer me this. If you increase tourism, how is that actually improving education? Because one of the reasons, let me finish.
Sure.
One of the reasons why I asked that question specifically is because I believe that one of the reasons why education ranks as low as it does in the state of Nevada is not funding. 67.3% of the general fund in the state of Nevada goes to fund education. That's a huge amount. But the fact of the matter is, you can graduate high school in the state of Nevada and go to work in a casino or in a local restaurant and make really good money. There's not really an incentive to necessarily go to a trade school or go to college. And I think if you're expanding tourism is a good thing, but I don't see how that ties into education.
Well,
because isn't that just creating more service drives?
I was heading there.
Okay.
So
drive the car, Mr. Pavone.
Okay. So the first thing we need to do is make our businesses healthy again, and that's not just the casinos.
Right. Yeah.
So that we can get up all of our people who have lost jobs.
And what do you mean by making it healthy again?
Well, the occupancy's way down. The people that are coming in, they're having to discount everything, so we're not bringing in the money the way we used to. We used to bring in almost
you mean discount everything?
$1 million. Well, they discount.
If I don't get a military discount, I'm out the door.
The rooms, you know. Yeah. So I guess the point I'm wanting to make here is that the problem we have with teachers is the same problem we have with doctors and nurses and other skilled people. They don't want to live here because there's no fun to live here. Because when you go to the Strip, they charge you $25 to park. You're spending $90 for a steak. Residences, you show your card, you should get discounts on every single thing there. It should be a perk of living here. If I move to Vegas, I can go to the Strip and I can get 30% off on everything.
Have you seen New York? You can't drive in New York.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You got
and they're all yellow cars.
to park your car for a day.
I got in there at 12:30 at night. I checked out at 5:30 in the morning. It cost me $120 to park.
Yeah.
More than it cost me for a hotel room.
And the hotels are expensive too.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
The food are expensive too, unless you go get yourself a pretzel on one of those vending machines on the sidewalk.
No, I'm not saying they have to give it away to the tourists, because when we're in full swing here, we get like 1 million people a week visiting here. So those are the people that pay the bill. But we have to create a better quality of life for people. And what do we have? We don't have green grass. We don't have, zoos and things like that. SeaWorld. We're building. We've built the Raider Stadium. Fantastic. They're trying to think about building
I think that's where the marijuana money went to, but that's a whole different story.
Well, they made it legal, and that's. I'm
not saying that. I'm just saying building the stadium.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing. I think, it's okay to go out and get prescription drugs from your doctor, but you can't smoke grass. I think you should be able to, life's liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Most politicians say, well, I want them to do what makes me happy. No. We're electing you to go in and pass laws so that we can be happy. You work for us, and that's what they've forgotten. Mm-hmm. They work for us. Mm-hmm. And there's 42,000 veterans' homes that can't afford to pay their rent right now. Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
Where'd you get that number from?
Off the veterans site, military.com or one of those.
And 42,000 here in Nevada?
42,000 in Nevada.
Really?
There's about 980 homeless veterans in Nevada. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so these are the issues that need to be addressed too. Rents have gone up. Some rents have doubled in the last couple of years. People can't afford to live here.
Well, you know why rent went up?
Supply and
because
demand.
landlords couldn't, their hands were tied. Mm-hmm. People were there on free rent, and they still had a mortgage to pay.
Well, supply and demand, that was a big issue. Plus, we've had 500,000 Californians move here, and we haven't had enough homes to rent them.
Yourself.
No, I've been here for 10 years.
Okay.
I don't count. And,
I dread being behind somebody that has California plates.
Me too.
Dread.
Me too. Since I moved here, and that's another campaign we could have, because when I moved here, I would drive to California because my daughter's there.
Okay.
She's a police officer.
Oh, wow.
And my son-in-law is a deputy sheriff SWAT.
Okay.
So I'm pro-law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm strong on the border. Second Amendment, Constitution.
Okay.
I'm a patriot.
Okay.
And I do what I say what I'm going to do, and I tell the truth. But when I go to visit them and I go over the border, everybody's driving 15 miles an hour faster. They're closer. They're like, and they come here now. They moved here and they're driving faster. I used to love being here. One of the reasons is I'm driving 60, 65. I love it. So we need a campaign saying, hey, slow down. What's your hurry? Like we had when we were young. Remember the litter bug campaign?
You're talking to Steve Sanson. You do not want to ride with Steve Sanson.
So you remember the litter bug commercial when we were in the 60s, right?
Yeah,
Don't be a litter bug. And they drilled it into us, and then finally nobody was littering.
For somebody
we need the same thing with speed.
For somebody that says he's not a politician, you sure as hell sound like one.
No, I'm convicted. I'm convicted to do this.
You said patriots tell the truth, so does liberals lie?
Well, no, there's liberals who are good people who believe in the environment.
That wasn't the question.
Well, it's not an easy answer,
It was easy when you said patriots tell the truth, though.
Well,
I just want to know if
I'm a
liberals
patriot,
lie.
and I don't lie.
Okay.
I can't account for other people who are rhinos, which we have a lot in this town, in this state.
And you got to explain that to people, because a lot of people don't know what a rhino is.
A rhino is a Republican they're Democrats in Republican clothing,
Well, what does the abbreviation rhino stand for?
Republican in name only.
Thank you, Jim Jones.
Let me finish on the conservative, because I ride horses. I love animals. We have livestock issues here, grazing on federal lands. They're shooting cows from the air because they got through a fence. 50 bulls and cows got killed last month out of a sniper, out of a helicopter. We have to look into those issues too. I believe it was like a month or two ago. I just saw it on the internet.
Where could I find that?
You just Google it.
And it's for here in
U.S.
Nevada?
Forest Service kills cattle in Nevada.
Here in Nevada.
With a sniper out of a helicopter. And they're killing tens of thousands of horses. And
why? For the coyotes could have an easy chase?
It makes no sense to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I've heard about the horses. I didn't hear about the cows.
And we had, I went to Yellowstone a few months ago. We used to have 60 to 80 million bison, which the government killed most of them off because they didn't want the Indians to have anything to eat.
Right.
Gee, nice, right?
Yeah.
So now they're doing the same thing with the Mustangs. They're killing all the horses. And, so there's issues. I'm a conservative. In some ways, I'm a liberal, because I believe in preserving the environment, making clean vehicles, although I'm not convinced that electric is the way to go because the mining and the processing to make batteries and stuff is, as I understand it, very toxic. So we're all human beings, and we, the people, are kind of tired. We're kind of tired of watching the government, like 2 weeks ago, spend $1.5 trillion at 2:30 in the morning. They signed that law.
All right, let's stick with the state of Nevada.
Right?
You're not running for Congress.
Well, I'm ready.
Okay, because this is how politicians do it. They come off subject all the time. Off subject.
We got a lot to think
all
about.
the time. You said you're not a politician.
We got a lot to
so
think
now
about.
I'm confused. You are or you're not?
I have a lot I think about because, somebody asked me.
Let's stick to Nevada. Let's stick to Nevada, okay?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to help bring business to the Native Americans that are here on the reservations?
Well,
because I don't hear anybody talk about them.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Well, the reservations have their own set of laws.
True.
So you have to be very careful.
They're still in the state of Nevada.
When you do business.
And they vote.
Yeah.
They vote for lieutenant governor. They vote for the races.
Sure.
So what are you going to do to help the Native Americans bring business to their reservation?
Well, they're not unlike us. They have education problems, getting teachers. My former sister,
I'm talking about business. What are you going to do to help the Native Americans bring business to the state of Nevada? And then we could talk about what are you going to do to help create the education on the reservation within the state of Nevada, since you brought up education. So let's stick with the business first. What are you going to do to help the Native Americans bring business to their reservation as a lieutenant governor?
Well, the subject of the Indians in America is tragic. Everybody who has any brains
How come nobody talks about that?
They've been screwed.
How come nobody talks about that?
How come nobody talks about anything today that's gone on in the last couple of years with elections and why the Congress and Senate did nothing for 4 years
I'm
but
not worried about that. If you're running for CD 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'll be asking you those questions, but you're not. You're running for LTGOV.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to bring business to the reservation for Native Americans?
I have no idea because I haven't, I've only been a politician here for 2 months and I think I'm doing pretty good considering,
How? I haven't heard anything that you're going to resolve the problems with the state. And one of the problems with the state is the reservations that are not getting quality health care, that are not getting quality education. You yourself just brought that up, and that are not getting quality business, and they're part of our state. What are you going to do to help them out?
Okay, so let me interject real quick, just to add into your question. What actually can the state do to impact Indian reservations? Do you know, like legally, is there anything the lieutenant governor can do?
I really haven't explored the relationship between the state of Nevada and the Indian reservations.
Yeah.
So I have to look into what kind of relationships can exist or do exist to be able to have an intelligent conversation about it.
Okay.
So if I don't know about it, I'm not going to make it up. And, but how do I feel about the Native Americans? I think they've been screwed since the beginning of time.
Okay. All right.
And I think they're beautiful people, okay?
Yeah.
But nobody talks about them, though.
Well, probably because they don't, either they're being blocked or they're not yelling loud enough.
They vote. You know how many powwows I go to? I go to a lot of powwows. They vote. And they're one of the most patriotic souls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody talks about them. Nobody comes up with an idea how to help develop their reservation because it's part of the state of Nevada. Nobody talks about them. They talk about tourism.
Yeah.
But they don't talk about the Native Americans.
Well, I just know from one experience my brother had. He lives in Sioux City, Iowa, and he used to consult to build casinos. And he said, you can't do business with the reservations because if you have a problem, you have to go to reservation court and you always lose. So the first thing they need to do is clean up their act. They need to develop a relationship with the outside business people so that we can have a level playing field. And it has to be democratic.
But
that would be the biggest thing that they could do for themselves, because you can't go on to the reservation. You're subject to reservation law.
Right.
And you're never going to win, according to my brother, who's made a lot of casino deals in the Midwest.
You mean to tell me if you go to a reservation tribal leader and you say, hey, I want to bring some business to your reservation, they're going to turn you away?
No, but if you bring the business and then they run into a problem and they have to go to court, they're going to lose. That's the story that I've been given by my brother, and I believe him, because he's built casinos in Iowa and South Dakota and North Dakota. And, that's a bad thing. It's like doing business with the mafia, I've heard. If you're not going to win with them either, at least I've seen in movies, Yeah. So if you're going to do business with them, you have to be prepared for the downside,
right.
It's just like I was in Mexico 2 weeks ago with the church. We were building homes for homeless families, okay? And we're standing on this hill in Rosarito building this little home, right? 2-bedroom, very simple, not even a bathroom. But there was a family of 6 living in a hovel, dirt floor, 10 by 12, made out of shiplap and crap.
Right.
And in 24 hours, we got them in a home. And I'm standing on this, overlooking the ocean. And I'm looking at this beautiful rolling hills. And we're building homeless houses there. Mm-hmm. If Mexico wasn't so corrupt, there should be golf courses and Ritz-Carltons and all of this stuff. It looks just like Dana Point and Laguna Beach. But nobody can go there because, well, I'm just saying, if you know you're going to get robbed, you're not going to do business there. And I'm not saying that people are going to get robbed, but I'm just saying you have to attract
You're not
business.
saying that the Indian reservations are a bunch of robbers.
No. I'm saying in Mexico, they know that the government's corrupt. And that's why I'm standing on this beautiful, if they were to just fix it, they would have such development that they could build whole cities for their homeless, and they wouldn't have a homeless problem with proper sewers and proper plumbing and proper electrical. They're just so short-sighted and corrupt that they can't do that. And it felt so bad for me when we gave the keys to this family of 4 beautiful children.
In Mexico?
A beautiful couple, yeah. In 24 hours, we pushed them ahead. In 7 to 10 years, we gave them a home, right. Cement floor, locking doors, bars over the windows. This is the reality down there. But we pushed them
Sounds
ahead.
like North Las Vegas.
John Lee's done a great job in North Las Vegas, but you're right. It used to be like the crack center of Nevada, right? But John Lee's running for governor, and he's a good guy. I believe he's a nice guy. He's done a great job up there. He's poured more cement to do sidewalks around the earth twice up there since he's been a mayor.
This guy should be PR for Lee.
Well, hey, listen, we need good people. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. We need good people to be elected. Mm-hmm. People who are not lying, not going to steal the money, and going to do what they say they do.
Right now, you need Republicans to get you out of the primary.
What's that?
Right now, you need Republicans to get you out of the primary.
And veterans. Because
you need veterans that are Republicans.
No, I need veterans of any color and any shape.
Veteran that is a Democrat can't get you out of this primary. I can tell you that.
Well, they got to vote registered Republican.
Right.
That's another thing I'd like to see changed. Or in the early days in California, if you were registered Republican and you went to the polls and you wanted to vote for a Democrat, you could vote. If I like this Democrat, I like this Republican.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you, because now you're treading on a sensitive subject with me. Okay.
Sure.
So, primaries.
Yeah.
We're specifically discussing primaries. Right. So when you say years ago when you were in California, if you were a Democrat, you could vote for a Republican. Yep. Are you talking about specifically in a primary?
No, I think it was in the general election.
Okay, that's different.
And that would include the primary. They didn't limit you because if you're a Republican to only vote for Republicans in any election. You could vote for whoever you wanted.
Okay, so
even
now,
an independent.
So are you advocating for open primaries?
Yes. Yes.
You know that it directly goes against the GOP platform, right?
Well, you know, the GOPs didn't want Trump, did they? The only reason they wanted him is because he was winning.
Is that what you think?
That's what I saw.
There was a lot of Republicans that caucused for Trump when he was just running against Bush and, what was it, 9/12, Ben Carson, and all that.
Well, in 2016, the Republicans did not want Trump until he became the clear favorite, and then the tide turned. And then after he got in there, look what happened.
You're talking about here in Nevada?
I'm talking nationally.
Because when you were talking, you compared, you talk about everywhere else. You were talking about California, you were talking about Mexico. I just want to talk about Nevada.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. But you have to understand one thing.
And the reason why I brought it up is so just to be clear, because when I say the GOP platform, I'm literally talking about the state GOP platform.
Right.
They are in their platform, they are opposed to open primaries. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, so am I.
That's fine. I mean, you know, that's why we have freedom.
I just wanted to be clear that you were advocating for open primaries. I'm not holding it against you.
Yeah.
I'm just, I just want that on the record.
Because you did say you're a patriot.
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
And
cool.
there are good Democrats, there are good Republicans.
Patriot, are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But, you know, I believe people, you know, there are good people out there who believe in the Democratic, and they believe in the Republican, they believe in the Independent.
Right.
And they should have a free will to vote for whoever they want.
Sure.
And it would be less apt to have corruption in the election process.
That's why they got a general election for you to do that.
Yeah, but you can't get there.
You want in the general election.
You can't get there if you're
not
in the primary. If you're red, you vote red. Yeah. If you're blue, you vote blue. And most people don't even vote down ticket or vote in the primaries. We only get like almost 30% turnout for the primaries.
Right.
And yet, I was looking at Wikipedia the other night for District 9. A friend of mine was thinking of running, and they said that in the primary in 2020, 95% of the people voted. Mm-hmm. That's why we're number one in corruption. Voter fraud in Nevada.
Yeah.
We're number one at something, you know? Right? 95 people when only 25 to 30 show up for the primary. So we have issues, major issues. And we need smart people and stand-up people to deal with them. And I'm not saying I know everything. I'm not saying I have the solution for everything. But I will research it, and I will find out the true stories, and I will make decisions on what's best for the people of Nevada. And if I get elected as a Republican, and I'm talking to Democrats, I'm for them too. Because they're all human beings.
Look, Mr.
You know
Pavone, I understand that completely, but you can't put that cart before the horse. Right now, you're in a primary election.
Yeah.
You're in a primary election.
I'm in my first election
You're
ever.
in a primary election. I don't think that's registering to you. You're in a primary election.
Yeah.
You're putting that cart before the horse. So right now, you got to worry about Republicans voting for you to get to the general, so you could get all those other different political parties to actually vote for you. And then if somehow you become the lieutenant governor for the great state of Nevada, then you could concentrate on all Nevadans. But right now, you can't.
Well, there's two things I would say to that. Number one, if anybody who knows me knows that I am a dyed-in-the-wool patriot, conservative, pro-law enforcement, strong on the border, pro-Second Amendment.
Let me ask you something about law enforcement.
Can I finish this? There's two things that they need to know. And secondly, you got to be flexible in politics when you get elected.
Right.
If President Trump was more flexible and didn't look to cut everybody off at the knees when he got in there and had a little give and take, he may not have had the trouble that he had. So you have to be flexible. I'm not looking to change the world. I'm not looking to change the parties. I just want to get there so I can affect some change for the people of Nevada without being I'm here and everything you're doing, you got to change today. Because I won't get anything done.
You said you're pro-law enforcement.
Yeah.
And I commend that all the way.
Yeah.
Are you pro-law enforcement because your kids are cops? Or are you pro-law enforcement because that's just how you are?
That's how I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your kids weren't cops, you still would be pro-law enforcement?
Sure. Absolutely.
Because usually that creates a little bit of bias. Because your kids are cops.
No, well, I've had like
just like me. I'm a Marine. I'm pro-Marine.
I'm pro-law, and I
have a bias, and I'll say I have a bias because of that.
Simplify.
No.
You know, I tried to. I never had the honor to serve. I tried to join in '73, but the Vietnam was coming to a close and they were laying off. So they said, we're not enlisting anybody right now. So I went back to college.
Okay.
But, when we talk about being pro-law enforcement, I believe that this defund the police is just a cloak for trying to bring in foreign peacekeepers and lawyers. And we don't want the UN in here trying to tell us what to do.
I don't believe in defunding the police.
Yeah.
I believe in getting rid of bad police. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever been pulled over, thrown up against a squad car before, and cuffed and kicked in the face? Have that ever happened?
Well, I was pulled over in my garage at 3 o'clock in the morning and kept there standing in my garage for, which seemed like an eternity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know bad cops, I know good cops, and I'm a third-degree black belt, so I can defend myself against anybody.
So when was this? When did this happen?
It was 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
I should have did a background check on him before I came on the show.
That's okay. It's there.
I'll take a look.
And I've made mistakes in my life. I've made mistakes in my life, and I'll admit to them.
Okay. Like what mistakes have you made?
Well, there's issues about. Everybody makes the same mistake in politics. They want to elect leaders who have never made a mistake.
There's no such thing.
Where I come from, when you make a mistake, you learn from, you become a better person, you build character, and you move forward. Right. God doesn't want you to stop living or glorifying Him because you made a mistake. He wants you to get up, learn from it, and go forward and be a good person. Right. So I tell people who don't want to accept people who have made mistakes, he who was without sin cast the first stone, because we're all guilty of something. Even if we thought it in our minds, we're guilty of it, right? So, when we look at law enforcement, I've been messed around. I mean, I went through puberty in the summer of love. I was a hippie. I was a disco king. I've made mistakes. I've, done stuff that, I'm not proud of, but we were all doing it, So if you want to judge me, judge me. Right. But if you want to throw away good candidates because they made a mistake a quarter of a century ago, you're making a mistake. Because that's how we learn. And I tell people, don't judge me on my successes. Judge me on how many times I got knocked down or fell down and I got back up.
But when you first came on, you gave us a bio. You was telling us all about your successes. You weren't telling us all about your failures.
Oh, I've failed. I've gone broke a couple of times, Yeah. I mean, it's a hard life out there, And so you just have to learn. It's like that song by Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. You know what I mean?
And you also got to know when to run.
That's true. Yeah. Amen.
And walk away.
And I
always have to run. You can walk away.
And I want to talk to the veterans right now, if I may.
Sure.
My father was in the 3rd Armored with Patton. Okay. Slept under a tank for 2 years. North Africa, Sicily, France, Belgium, Holland, D-Day +2.
Why does everybody always talk about their family, what their family has done in the military?
Well, I could never serve. But I did raise a daughter. Okay. Got her red belt in karate. Took her to drag racing school at Pomona. Now she's a policewoman, and everybody wants her because she's always calm amidst all the chaos. Okay. And I said, there's a benefit from being raised by 2 crazy parents. Right. You know what I mean? So, but my brother was in Vietnam with the Seabees. My brother-in-law was a West Point Corps of Engineers, Korea, Seabees. My other 3 uncles were in World War II. One had a metal plate in his head for his life, and my other uncle was a correspondent. And I got to tell you the story because he affected history. He befriended a German guy, and after the war, he gets a call that the German guy wants to bring a car company to the United States, and he wants my uncle to be the point man. And my uncle said, what car? And he said, Volkswagen. My uncle was responsible for bringing Volkswagen to the United States because he was in the military, he was in the Army, he was a correspondent.
And you say why you didn't join again?
In 73, war was being ended in Vietnam, and all the guys were coming home, and they're trying to find places for them.
Join on the active duty side and just stay in garrison?
Well, they just said, no, we're not. I went into the recruiting office in San Diego.
Did they say no to you?
They said no.
Did you have a bad ASVAB score?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it was a hippie then. I showed up with long hair and an earring. Maybe that had something to do with it. But,
No, they'll still square you away.
But the point is, I really have a warm spot in my heart for people. And since I was coming on to this show, I did some research.
What'd you find out?
Well, and I found out what I mentioned to you earlier. We have almost 1,000 homeless veterans. We have 42,000 homeless veteran families who can't afford their rent in Nevada.
Okay.
You know, we have issues with counseling. You know, the military insurances, there's like 8 different grades. There's TRICARE, and then you have 8 different definitions of what a veteran is. You know, you have a retired veteran and this and that and the other thing. And I can see just how it goes down the line, how they get less and less and less coverage. I think if you serve in the military and you're a retired veteran after 4 years, you should get health insurance for your life like Medicare. Mm-hmm. You don't have to pay any deductibles, you don't have to pay any co-pays or a little bit. Like I'm 68, I get Medicare. You know, I think that we make this thing way too difficult when it should be, you know, we owe our veterans, whether you've been injured in combat or not, you need to get care and you need to not pay for it for the rest of your life, man. And so military.
Do you think there's something you could actually do as a lieutenant governor for a state?
Well, the lieutenant governor, his position has been diluted over time.
Mm-hmm. And it's a part-time job.
It's a part-time job.
Make about what, $65,000 a year?
Yeah, but he's chairman of the transportation committee, the tourism committee. He's on the audit committee.
I understand that.
You know,
I'm talking about what you just said about veterans and their health care.
Well, you know, when you're in the office of the lieutenant governor, just because you're not responsible for a certain area doesn't mean you can't hold a press release, a press conference, and talk about it. Maybe you can't bring it up.
So
you
that's
can't
a yes.
cast light on it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't believe that I should be limited in my abilities to create positive change in the world just because a job description says that I should only do that.
I didn't say that. I just want to know if you could.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. I'm ready for anything. I mean, you know, when I got my black belt and you learn how to kill people, mm-hmm. you don't want to kill people. You don't even want to ever get in a fight.
How many
because
people have you killed?
None.
Okay.
None. But you know what lethal force
mm-hmm.
is. Once you learn you have it, you don't want to use it. Mm-hmm. You know, but it gives you a confidence that, you know, you can handle yourself and you don't have to prove anything to anybody else. But I've been through a lot of scrapes in my life, you know, when you know, the 70s was crazy time, and, you know, I've been through corporations, and I've been through downturns in bankruptcies, you know, and I'm just a regular guy. Okay. But I've got 160 IQ, and I've had a PhD from the school.
Who said you got 160?
I know. I think they made a mistake, too. but I went through some, you know, when I was in the catering business, it was very stressful, so I started seeing a psychiatrist, and they give you test, you know. But yeah, you're right.
You went through the catering business. Say that again.
I was very stressful. I was in the catering business. I had the limousine company.
And then you had to go see a psychiatrist.
Just to straighten it out, you know, because I think everybody, you know, in California, there was always a course on inner
We're
search.
back to California again.
No, but I mean, as a person, I've spent 40 years there. It defines me a little bit of who I am. Okay. And I went through like the pursuit of excellence, and the wall, and you know, inner search, and clearing up your spirit. So,
Mr. Pavone,
sir, thank you for
Jim,
having me.
you have anything else for Mr. Pavone?
No, actually, I don't. I do want to thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure. Anytime.
And, you know, and here's the thing. I don't just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you know, the more people involved in the process, the better. As long as you just continue to take it seriously,
sure,
and keep driving a good message, I think it's good. And I commend you on being willing to run, because it's not easy. And I really do appreciate you coming on, because it's not easy being interviewed. And with Steve and I, we're really good about like preparing for this show. Good luck.
Yeah.
As you can see, neither one of us have notes in front of us.
Yeah.
Neither one of us.
Rock and roll. Yeah.
Because I think, and the reason why we do it that way is not, the reason why we do it this way is not a gotcha, because and both of us have run for office before, and we've been doing this a long time.
Sure.
So we understand that, like, you can go into a meet and greet or go up to give a speech, and you think you got it all figured out, man. And you will get somebody that'll ask a question and it just completely catches you off guard.
Sure.
And Steve and I have said for years, if you can't handle us, you can't handle being lieutenant governor.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I appreciate you coming in, and
thank you.
taking all the heat from the lights and everything.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just, I figure if I'm truthful with myself and my God, then I'm going to be in good shape.
Absolutely. You always got to be truthful to your God.
Ooh.
Mr. Pavone, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I really appreciate it. Really, really.
I need you to look into that camera right there, and Mark's going to zoom in on you, and you tell folks why you're the best candidate to be lieutenant governor for the GOP and your point of contact.
My name is Peter Pavone, pavonefornevada.com. I'm running for lieutenant governor of Nevada 2022. I'm an honest patriot. I have integrity. I am qualified for the job. I am knowledgeable of all the industries that he needs to be knowledgeable in, and I'm working for the people of Nevada. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Point of contact, you did that?
Yeah, Peter Pavone, Pavone at Nevada, or Facebook, Peter Pavone for Lieutenant Governor, Nevada 2022. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Rumble and Tumblr and all of the other things. So just Google me and it'll come up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pavone, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Jim, thank you so much. Folks, that's Peter Pavone, candidate for Nevada's Lieutenant Governor. This is Veterans in Politics. Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas. Until next time.